Good day, everybody. My name is Chiosa Abofu Esume, and I'm going to be doing a presentation on Nigeria protecting financial data from cyber attacks. And this article, which was written by Emma Konji, is gotten by the annual editions Technologies, Social Media, and Society, prepared and edited by Caroline Schaffer Westerhof. The learning outcomes. At the end of this presentation, um, I'm sure you will be able to understand why many cyber attacks come from China and Russia. Discuss the anti-cybercrime objectives of Palo Alto, and also describe what is meant by application shift and how it presents a vulnerability in networks. Introduction. Cyber attacks on organizations are on the increase. And this attacks on organizations could be financial or otherwise. The attacks have put some organizations out of business, while those that still survive suffer huge financial losses regularly, especially in the financial services sector, where customers' accounts are targets of attacks. Um, Many cyber attacks come from China and Russia, and this is so because in those regions of those countries, those statements against cyber crime is pronounced. There is no clear laws against it. Um, Most countries' databases are encrypted, especially in the banking industries, corporate organizations, and government security agencies, but they are still targets for cyber criminals. And millions of dollars are lost in the banking industry due to this act of cyber attacks. About cyber crime. The main goals of cyber criminals are to penetrate the network, log in, and gain control of programs inside the network. They often use the information they obtain for terrorism, fraud, or commercial knowledge or intelligence. In many cases, cyber criminals often target multiple sites and organizations to increase the spread of the virus. Also, cyber criminals use large numbers of remote affected computers to orchestrate attack on specific sites. Most attacks are undetected due to new variants of malware that are generated on a daily basis. As you can see, humans, I don't think we can keep up to the level of or speed at which technology is evolving. By with each passing day, yesterday becomes outdated. So as uh, companies or organizations are coming up with ways to kind of like beef up their security. So also, criminals also coming up with new variants of malware to break the security measures. And cyber criminals, are not the regular one guy living in the basement or operating from the basement of an apartment anymore. You have these people that are working in chains and well structured organizations, to orchestrate attacks with clear goals. And also, one major important thing is the nature of applications are changing. This would eventually lead to the definition of an application shift, but the some common applications use encryptions, hub porting, and other evasive measures or ways to ensure that their legitimate information would pass to the other side, even against current protections measures that reside in the network. And this leads to application shift, which is one of such applications um, in which the legitimate application without user intervention hops between different ports of the network imitating other applications in order to pass by the barricades of traditional firewalls. According to the article here by Okonji, most of these applications are being used normally as offices by employees for daily work and for their social life. But at the same time, even though people use this application shift in this non-harmful way, some unscrupulous individuals may also use them for dishonest purposes as a conduit to large criminal attacks on the networks. Um, which leads us to our next topic on traditional firewalls. As the term traditional implies, it means old, archaic, as the case may be. But in this case, it just talks about how these traditional firewalls guard against old versions of cyber attacks that um, and they are ill equipped for modern day attacks. Traditional firewalls protect the ports of network and protocols, but they do not focus on the content that is presumably legitimate and is passing in and out of the network and can carry evasive programs. So, because of this, our traditional firewalls are not uh, possible to guard against current cyber attacks. So what does this have to do with countries like Nigeria? First off, countries like Nigeria presently are among the fast-growing economies in the country today, in the world today. Excuse me, but also not just that, they are economies which do not have the necessary or the up-to-date security measures to protect or guard against these cyber attacks. And their security systems are porous and not up to the world standards, so they are targets for cyber criminals. Um, Predictions of cyber attacks. As of 2014, cybercrime and security threats were expected to be on the rise. Thus, this prompted enterprises in the private and public sector to strengthen their data sector security. Um, they underwent endeavors like investing in training and hiring of cybersecurity professionals, blue chip enterprises, state and federal agencies. They pretty much in an attempt to beef up their security as a result of these predictions. And this is where Palo Alto comes in. Furthermore, as a solution for banks, enterprises, and data center executives, they have to invest in network security solutions, including resources, training, and technology, like I made mention earlier, and the utilization of the most up-to-date and properly configured devices. And like I said about traditional firewalls, they cannot handle modern day cyber attacks. Hence, companies and enterprises should desist from using such. Financial losses. The Apex banks, which is known as the Central Bank of Nigeria, reported about 4,527 cases of fraud and forgery, amounting to about $1.6 million in 2012, which was not the case in 2011. 2,527 cases were reported in that year, which from the presentations you can see, shows almost more than half a increase. And unfortunately, this a trend was also being on the rise was also on the rise in 2013 and 2014. So, what is um, the hope for the future for banks or financial institutions in Nigeria? Well, Palo Alto has introduced a modern design of network security that controls the safe enablement of applications and exceptional levels of protection. According to the company, the solution enables quick discovery and elimination of previously unknown malware, zero-day exploits, and advanced persistent threats. So they are really doing everything possible to make sure that they combat this trend of rise in cyber attacks in Nigeria. And with the introduction of new solutions from Palo Alto Network, it is expected that organizations, especially banks, will record less financial losses from cyber attacks. Conclusion: financial industries and government agencies' security devices have to be up to date, especially in growing economies like Nigeria. Cyber attacks are on the rise as cyber criminals get more sophisticated and organized. Security measures such as that of Palo Alto networks that are well equipped of handling modern day cyber attacks should be employed by data centers in Nigeria. And on that note comes the conclusion of my presentation. Following slide shows my reference, and I'm sure you enjoyed, and I hope you enjoyed my presentation. Thank you, and have a nice day.